Thank you for tuning in to the best parenting show on the internet, Post Daily Dose.
It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post.
Hey, good evening, Facebook, and welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guide, and servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Brian+Post. Good evening, everyone. Hope you've had a fantastic President's Day, and those of you who were off, I hope you enjoyed your day. Tonight's episode, we're going to talk about PMDD, Premenstrual Dysphoric Disorder. So this is a new classification that has come out in the DSM. I think it's a DSM-5. I don't get too far into diagnosis these days, but I thought, this is probably something I should maybe chime in on, because it's probably, the research says up to 8% of women have suffering from this disorder, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Hey, Heidi from New Zealand. And so I thought, this is interesting. So I was actually having a conversation with someone the other night, and this is these things kind of build up over a period of time. I was having a conversation. They mentioned something about PMDD, and I said, isn't it interesting that there's now a disorder that is related to these premenstrual symptoms that women have been suffering from for a long time, and now there's this disorder, and it is got to be inevitably connected to trauma, because trauma gets stored in the gut. And so we know that so many of the premenstrual symptoms start and originate in the gut as well. And so I thought, let me look into this just a little bit. And so what I found fascinating, hello, Kirsten, what I found fascinating is that the very first thing that is noted for the treatment of PMDD is medication. Surprise, surprise, surprise. So if 8% of women suffer from premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and we can give those women a pill that some pharmaceutical company is inevitably going to come up with, then we can make billions of dollars. It will probably be the next antidepressant. So first and foremost, you all know that I'm not like a big medication advocate. I'm not a medication advocate at all, especially not pharmaceuticals, psychiatric medications, things of that nature. Because I feel like all they do is work towards suppressing the symptoms. So, and when I say working towards suppressing the symptom, what I really mean is they don't address the root cause. They're just symptomatic in nature, and then they come with side effects. And there's so much research that says most psychotic medications, psychiatric medications, antidepressants, things like that, are minimally more effective than even placebo. So minimally, I mean by a percentage of degrees more effective than placebo. The reality is that most pharmaceuticals work because of the placebo effect. And what you want to know, there's a book called The Emperor's New Drug, and this really, he goes into this research really in depth about how pharmaceutical companies are, if they can just show like a point umpteenth percentage of a increase over placebo, then they can get FDA approval for this. But really, what makes all the difference between a psychiatric medication and the placebo is that the psychiatric medications, or the medications in general, have side effects. And so it's actually the side effects of the drugs that make the person feel like the drug is actually working, which then psychologically, emotionally triggers this sense of something must be happening to make me feel better, which then generates more of the placebo effect, but it's not actually the drug itself being effective. Hey, Darlene, thanks for joining me. And so it's not actually the drug that's effective, it's the placebo, it's the side effects of the drug that triggers the psychological, emotional aspect, which then makes us want to, think we're getting better, and the thoughts that you're getting better make you feel better. And so it's all a very interesting thing. But what I want to give especially you ladies, the moms out there, something to consider is that when we get older, and I'm 45, so I fall well within this category as well. When we get older, so there's a couple things. Our hormones naturally become imbalanced. And if you've had children, and if you live in an environment of stress, and if you eat the food in today's society, you are probably at risk of hormonal imbalance. But what I found really interesting is that in the literature that I saw, the WebMD stuff and the other, predominant FDA funded kind of websites that people, and pharmaceutical industry funded websites that people have put up to give you general information to just funnel you to this medication or that medication, is they don't even talk about natural hormone treatments. They talk about hormone treatments, birth control, which is another pharmaceutically organized medication. What they don't tell you is that as we age, and because of stress and because of our diets, our natural hormones get out of balance. And when your natural hormones are out of balance, pharmaceuticals cause your natural hormones to get out of balance. When your one hormone gets out of balance, it affects all the other hormones. And then things as simple as high blood pressure medications impact your hormones. Cholesterol medications impact your hormones. Cholesterol is a hormone, and all your other hormones are actually derived from cholesterol. So when you're given a cholesterol-lowering medication, that is fundamentally changing the structure of all the hormones, the natural hormones in your body. So if you find yourself, and this is the first part of what I want to talk about, if you find yourself being a woman who's suffering from these really extreme premenstrual symptoms, you might want to go get your natural hormone levels checked. Now, here's the thing. Most general practitioners are clueless when it comes to natural hormone levels. And why am I speaking to you about it? Because I actually spent the last, 7 years actually running a natural hormone clinic. And so our whole focus was on natural hormones, food sensitivity testing, allergy testing, natural supplements, lowering stress. So it's all this natural approach to engineering health, in addition to the emotional healing component of it. But it was all in the industry of anti-aging and wellness. And so I've spent a great deal of time being directly involved in this industry. And so it's just interesting coming from a psychological background, and then looking at how the medical industry is starting to take these natural stages, these natural ebbs and flows of who we are as individuals, and then put these clinical labels on them, so that ultimately it just leads to another medication without any inclination whatsoever of how a serotonin drug impacts your other hormones. And if you've not even looked at your other hormones, why give someone a drug that's going to manipulate your serotonin in your brain, your lack of or your overproduction of it, if you've not looked at your other hormones and how those hormones actually are affecting your serotonin and affecting your moods and affecting your sleep and everything else? I mean, so many women suffer from sleep issues, and one of the hormones, natural hormones in your body that you can take externally for helping your sleep is progesterone. But no one talks about progesterone. And in in a lot of compounding pharmacies, I don't know, depending on the country you live in, but a lot of compounding pharmacies, they're actually creating natural hormone supplements that usually it's just a cream that you rub on your forearm at night before you go to bed, and it helps you to sleep better. So things like that. And then testosterone, over a period of time, our testosterones get lower, and a lot of women suffer from having not nearly enough testosterone. It's common for men at ages 30 and above to have drops in their testosterone levels, but women have drops in their testosterone levels too. So if your energy levels aren't where they need to be, If you're feeling more moody than you need to be, if you're not able to lose weight like you used to be able to lose weight, if you're retaining more body fat and you're not retaining your muscle, it's probably because of testosterone. And then you got the sex drive things, right? So if your sex drive isn't where it used to be, then it's probably a testosterone issue. And so going and having, and as I was saying, most general practitioners are not familiar with natural hormones. So they're very limited in their understanding. And even if they do test you for hormones, and yeah, Amy said toxicity can definitely mess them up. Oh, for sure. I mean, you've got the food that we eat. So much of the food that we eat today is crap that your body actually cannot process. And your body can't process, so what it does is it builds up homocysteine levels in your gut, which then leads to inflammation. So many of the challenges, even our hormonal imbalances, are related to inflammation levels. And so then what we do is we start feeling bad. We take ibuprofen, we take aspirin, we start taking more pharmaceuticals. And you know what those things do? Well, those start to create little micro perforations in your intestinal lining. And then when those micro perforations get created in your intestinal lining, the food you eat, which your body can't process, starts to drip into your bloodstream. When it drips into your bloodstream, it's all these foreign toxins, and then homocysteine actually is created to help fight the foreign toxins in your body, but then it creates inflammation because the inflammation is actually a buildup to try to fight the foreign toxins, but the inflammation then runs through your blood system and then starts to cause you high blood pressure, starts to cause fibromyalgia, starts to cause irritable bowel syndrome. Irritable bowel syndrome is a byproduct of microperforations in your gut. So doing things like taking a good healthy probiotics, which, by the way, you can't get probiotics in sugared yogurt. That's an oxymoron. So if you've got a yogurt that's got sugar in it and it's got probiotics in it, it's actually defeating the purpose because the sugar is actually what kills the probiotics. And so but again, that's something that the food industry perpetuates. You know, we have all this marketing, all this brand. Oh, get this all natural yogurt with your probiotics in it, but the yogurt has 20 grams of sugar in it. Well, that's defeating the purpose. The other thing your body can't process is sugar, which then again leads to microperforations in your gut, which leads to more homocysteine levels, which leads to more inflammation, which then affects your natural hormone levels, so on and so forth. Amy says, can I drop a group name in here that people may be interested? I found the group when my son had it. Sure, of course, absolutely. Stefan says, in the Netherlands, the regular pediatrician won't check their hormones. Yeah, they won't. They won't test, they won't check them because they don't know. They don't understand hormones. And because they don't understand hormones, they'll either check them and they'll look at the ranges, and the ranges, these normal ranges, are these highs and lows. And as long as you fall within these highs and lows, your doctor says it's normal. But most of those ranges are ridiculous. They're not anti-aging levels. They're not therapeutic levels. You can have a man, let's give you an example for a man. So the male testosterone range for a man is 200 to 1200. So the low end is 200, the high end is 1200. So optimal anti-aging for a man's testosterone is between 800 and 1200. Now, what's important about this is those great big bodybuilders that you see from time to time on TV and in magazines that are built like steers, their testosterone levels run from 10,000 to 12,000. That's how high their testosterone levels are. Natural anti-aging levels for testosterone in men are between 800 and 1200. But if you go to a doctor and your doctor gives you a hormone test, gives a man a testosterone test, which they usually don't test your estrogen levels. So if they're not testing your estrogen levels and they're not giving you an estrogen blocker, then what happens is your testosterone actually changes into estrogen, which then causes all kinds of crap. Then we got your thyroid, and that's a whole nother issue. So if you go to your general practitioner and they test you as a male for testosterone and your score is a 201, your doctor will tell you that you've got normal testosterone. Can you imagine? 201 and the range is 200 to 1200. I don't know about you, but I want freaking 1200. In fact, I want 1500 all day long. I don't want no freaking 200. 200 level range of testosterone. I want to be on the upper end because that's the anti-aging range, and that's where it is preventative for other future health issues. So look in your environment, and I don't know about like for Stefan who's in the Netherlands, like kind of what that industry is and kind of what the medical climate is, but there are usually some people around that are doing some kind of natural hormone testing. And this is usually not your general practitioner. Some doctors will take insurance, but a lot of them, it's just a cash service, but it is worth it to get especially for you women. I want to stay with the point of tonight's topic. For you, those of you women who are suffering from these really extreme premenstrual syndromes, these premenstrual symptoms, and you go to a psychiatrist and they want to diagnose you as PMDD and put you on some kind of psychiatric medication. That's not the answer. So I'm still at number one. That's not the answer. At the most basic level, go get your natural hormone levels tested by a hormone therapist, someone who specializes in natural hormone treatments. That's not going to give you pharmaceutical hormones. But if there's hormones that need to be prescribed, they'll give you some kind of compounded, some kind of bioidentical hormone. That's a all natural form of hormone. It's usually derived from yams. Sometimes it's derived from pig intestine, but that's the natural version. It's not synthetic. So go to a hormone specialist that actually specializes in natural hormones and does bioidenticals, compounded hormones. Get your levels tested before you let someone put you on just a blanket psychiatric medication, which is probably going to be an antidepressant. It's probably not going to be yet. It's not going to be a medication that's been created just for PMDD symptoms. It's going to be an an antidepressant, because that's what the pharmaceutical industry does. They want to put. If they can figure out a way to give you another use for this one pill, then they're going to give it to you. And if they can figure out a way to give you 2 pills, then they're going to give it to you. So don't buy into that system. Now, number 2. Thank you, Amy. Amy says the group is called TRS, a safe heavy metals detox. Perfect. Detoxing from heavy metals is very healthy, very important, and especially for your children. Getting your children detoxed off of heavy metals, but also food allergy testing. You can research this online. And in fact, in the UK, you can order tests that test hair. It'll test hair or test finger stick blood. Also here in the United States, probably have to have a doctor who'll sign off on it. But there's a company called Allotest, and they do a good food sensitivity test. My clinic used to do Allotest food sensitivity testing. They'll send you a kit. You usually have to have a doctor, but just talk to a doctor. You want an IgG testing and IGF testing. So you want immediate allergy test reaction, and you also want the prolonged. So sometimes you can eat a food and the allergy symptoms don't show up for 3 days later. So that's the delayed allergy reaction. So a lot of clinics will just test you for the immediate allergy reaction. That's why they do those little pokey tests, just to see if your body has some kind of reaction. That's not what you want. You want a blood-based or a hair-based food sensitivity test. And, people dispute all the time whether the validity of these tests. But let me tell you, there are certain foods that I'm sensitive to, that I've cut out, that make a huge difference in my life. And people want to know, well, why am I sensitive to foods that don't show up on the test? Well, there are certain antigens in those foods that you are sensitive to. So looking in that can all be very good. But second, point number 2, equally important, if not more important, is I contend that most women who are really struggling with severe premenstrual symptoms probably have some level of unresolved trauma. And I don't even like using the word resolve, because we use resolve like, I think of that carpet spray. You spray it on that stain, it's supposed to go away, but it doesn't go away because it always comes back, right? So some kind of trauma that has not been integrated, some kind of trauma that's not been expressed, some kind of trauma that's not been processed, some kind of trauma that's not been understood. So you've got some past experiences that you are holding on to in your gut, that when you hit your premenstrual cycle, your brain gets activated, your amygdala becomes more agitated, your amygdala, your brainstem are wired are wired into your spinal cord to go all the way down to your gut. So you got neural circuitry which runs from your brainstem down into your gut. So when your amygdala, you get into your premenstrual cycle, and then all of a sudden your amygdala is activating your brainstem, which is sending all these messages down into your gut where you store your trauma, and then all of a sudden you are feeling so much more agitated and so much more irritable and so much more in pain than you've been feeling all month long, and you don't know why you feel that way. Well, sometimes, and I think a great deal of the time, it's because you've got trauma that's getting stirred up, that amygdala with your hormones and everything else is stirring up trauma, and it's the trauma that's actually causing you the overwhelm of emotions and feelings and anxiety that doctors now want to diagnose you as having PMDD. And I saw someone post something in another group that I'm in. So Stacy said, how do you tease out true food allergy versus a trauma neuro gut issue? I have foster kids come into my home and have serious gastro issues. I think it's a combination. I think that because we know that almost all illness starts in the gut, I think it's a combination. So many of the children that come from neglectful environments have been eating bad food to begin with, so their gastrointestinal system is all messed up. And then you have the stress reaction system that ties into that. So I think really helping those children, first and foremost, get regulated, just getting them really good, healthy food, at least beginning to get them on a system of eating, a diet of eating that's more healthy. And then over time, helping them start to address some of the emotional issues, the trauma-related issues. You find the balance. It's like is there a difference between nature and nurture? No, they're interchangeable. The two work hand in hand. But if you can get a child to a test, to food sensitivity testing, then you just know, these are some specific foods. Like I've got a card around here somewhere that's got like 8-9 foods that I'm specifically allergic to, coffee being one of them. But do I avoid coffee? No. Eggs being one of them. Do I avoid coffee? No. Do I avoid eggs? No. Lemon being one of them. Do I avoid lemon? Yes. So there's certain things that I just don't eat because I know. So I think it just helps when you have some kind of general idea. But a lot of times with the foster kids, I think it's good to just start getting them a baseline, repair in their diet. And foster and adopted children, the paleo eating, the ketogenic eating is proving more and more and more to be so much more effective. Getting kids off of sugar, getting kids off carbs. Listen, that's crap. The sugar and carbs are just crap. There's no other way around it. I don't care what diet you do. Sugar and carbs are crap for your children's brain, for their heart, for their guts. And I know it's so hard to get kids off of sugar because sugar is in everything we eat these days. But really limiting that overt sugar consumption, especially like cereals, like just just doing away with cereal, unless you do it as a treat, unless you do it as dessert. All the little pastries we pop in the toasters and we put in the microwave and we put them in the oven. You can cut that stuff out. You can cut out 50% of your child's sugar without having to be like a sugar Nazi. You don't have to be a sugar Nazi because everyone loves a little bit of sugar, but just making a conscious decision to do something different than the insta foods that a lot of times we give children. And then, like Amy said, a good probiotic, a good live probiotic, one you got to store in the refrigerator to keep it alive. Giving your children good probiotics can make a really big difference to their intestinal health. And then when you reduce the sugar, you get them a good probiotic. Glutamine is really good. Glutamine is considered gut spackling, so that's really helpful in repairing the gut. And then doing a good detox. And that can be really hard on kids. So I always just, the parents can start the process because it's going to be helpful for you. Doing a good gut detox and then, starting to change your diet from there. And the children, they'll adjust over time. They won't love it, but it's okay. It's going to be better. It's going to be more healthy. So back to number 2, trauma. If you've got trauma in your life and in your past experience getting into your gut, you're storing it in your gut. I would be really interested to know the next time you start to move into your premenstrual cycle if you spend some time really rubbing your tummy, closing your eyes, breathing in, and just asking, what is this pain about? What is this pain about? And seeing what your body tells you and giving into it and expressing it and just seeing what you can do with it, seeing what's there, seeing that you can, just give some honor to that pain that you've experienced. I think it can make an extraordinary difference in your life. And I think that it could potentially keep you off of another medication that in the end of the day I just don't think is going to be valuable for you. So I hope that this has been helpful. There's so many good resources out there as far as diets, especially diets for yourself, diets for your children, reducing inflammation. Inflammation is a culprit, guys. If you just think about, if you do nothing more than research foods that cause inflammation and foods that reduce inflammation. See, I like to keep things so simple. Reduce the foods that are causing it and eat more of the foods that decrease it. And that's just going to start to improve your health. So many of the challenges you can be dealing with on a day-to-day basis are gut related. You have a whole nother brain in your gut, a whole nother brain. We have two brains. We've got the brain up here and we have a gut brain also. And so autoimmune disease all starts in the gut. So repairing your gut, watching your foods, doing a fast. I love to do intermittent fasting. Doing fasting from time to time, doing a liquid fast, and then continue to reduce those carbs can make such a big difference. And again, with the PMDD, think about getting your natural hormone levels checked. Think about doing some trauma work, see what's there, what's showing up in your body, and I hope that brings you some relief. So remember, in any given situation, we always have two choices. We can continue to react from the past, our decades of conditioning from the parenting matrix that tell us to keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, or we can stop, we can take 3 to 10 deep breaths, and we can choose love, and we can move ourselves outside the parenting matrix. You do not have to continue to do the same things that you've always done. There are other ways of looking at things. So God bless you. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic evening. I just hope that when you lay down tonight, that your cells in your body, they relax and they open up and they release the generations of stress and trauma that you carry for the lineage of your family right now. And when you wake up in the morning, you feel restored, refreshed, re-energized, reinvigorated, and ready to have a phenomenal day. Big Papa loves you. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.